everybody, welcome to another episode of GMG Reviews. Today we're taking a look at the latest Battletome for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which is the Fyreslayers. It's Battletome, no pants, crazy hair. The Fyreslayers are basically the incarnation of Age of Sigmar of the Slayer cult from Warhammer Fantasy Battle. And these dudes are pretty much the same MacGuffin, except they're hunting for Urgold, which is shards of their dead god all throughout the mortal realms. And they're doing no pants while they do it. And the guys basically wear fancy hats with their fancy crests and their fancy bear fat mohawks. And they ride magma lizards. And they light their own with fire. Let's take a look at the book. All right, so here we go. The Fyreslayers Order Battletome. There we go. Get it as non-shiny as possible so you guys can see it. So this is a really short Battletome, and just like with previous Battletomes where this is a sort of an enhancement to a first edition book, we're not going to go too deep into the War Scrolls. You guys can look at them all on the app. Their app will be updated today. When this goes up, we're going to focus more on the battle traits, the lodges, and then the artifacts of power and stuff, and whatever's new. The biggest change, most of the stuff that's new here has actually been spoiled on Warhammer Community, so there's not really a lot to show you. The Urgold runes are the big command trait you have for having your allegiance ability. There are 8 foot heroes, 3 Magmadroth heroes, the character unit chosen axes, and the 3 infantry units. Then you got your endless spells and your new terrain piece. So it's still fairly limited in what they can take as far as the Fyreslayers go, and it is pretty much run up and hit things with axes and occasionally throw axes at them for damage. So, if you are a Fyreslayer, what do you get? Well, you get Urgold runes, and as previously discussed in Warhammer Community, these have 2 effects. They're once per game, so you get to choose which order you're going to do these in. You're probably always going to start with the Rune of Farsight, not Rune of Farsight, the Rune of Fire Determination, because you get plus of your movement. You're all movement 4 for the most part for your infantry unit, so it's going to give you a 6-inch move in the first turn. And there's a lodge that you can take that basically gives you a 12-inch move, and then everyone within 12 of your general gets to charge. So you kind of want to just go second. That feels like the one you use first. The enhanced ability is you get to add 2 to the charge rolls as well, so that's pretty cool if you do want to get off a first turn charge. Rune of Fury, reroll 1s to hit, and if you get enhanced, you add +1 to their attack characteristic for all Fyreslayers. Rune of Searing Heat, if it's unmodified wound rolls of 6, get +1 damage, and then enhanced, roll a d6 for every unit within 3 of the... This seems like a turn 3 one. Roll a d6 for each unit within 3 inches of a Fyreslayer unit. On a 2+, the unit takes a mortal wound, so it just kind of like explodes out with a bunch of heat. Rune of Awakened Steel, it's just improve your rend by 1 and then improve it by 2 if it gets enhanced. Like I said, +2 to movement and then +2 to charge rolls if you get the enhanced over here. And then Farsight, add 1 to hit rolls for your throwing axes, and then add 1 to the wound rolls if you get enhanced as well. There's 4 lodges here. Volkstag, Greyfeared, Hemdar, and Lofnir. You can pick it as an additional keyword to your Fyreslayers, basically. And each one does a different thing. The Volkstag one is very clearly going to be to go fast. The Greyfeared one's extra hero-y stuff and also extra artifacts. Helmdar and Lofnir are a little more techy. So those are our allegiance abilities. Let's talk about some artifacts. The thing you have the most of in the Fyreslayers is characters, man. You got like 8 characters. One's named, so Fuel Grimnir's not getting any real addition from this. But the 7 just foot characters all kind of have access to different stuff. So you have a list of command traits and artifacts of power, and they're all based around if you're a Rune Father or Rune Son, or a Rune Master or Rune Smith. And then you're going over here for artifacts of power in the same way. So Rune Fathers and Rune Sons, and Grimwrath Berserkers or Doom Seekers, because the Doom Seekers and Grimwrath Berserkers don't get to be have your command traits. So no command traits for them at all. And then you've got your artifacts power for Rune Masters and Rune Smiters, sorry. And then Icons of Grimnir for the Battlesmiths, and your Magmadroths get their traits as well. So the Inheritance of Grimnir, so you have the Fury of the Fyreslayers is a command trait for Rune Fathers and Rune Sons. +1 to charge rolls for friendly Fyreslayers within 18 of the general. That's a good one to go with that fast, speedy lodge as well. Honor of the Ancestors, do not take battle shock tests for friendly Fyreslayers within 12 of the general. So again, you can make your whole army basically fearless. You've got Spirit of the Grimnir, and this general is on the battlefield. When you roll to activate an Urgold rune, you get a 5+ instead of a 6 for its enhanced effect. It's kind of neat. There's a lodge that lets you have this too. Oh, sorry, there's not a lodge, a War Scroll Battalion. Blood of the Berserker, once per battle in the combat phase. After this general has fought in that phase for the first time, if they're within 3 of the enemy unit, they can immediately pile in and fight twice. So once per battle, fight twice, doesn't cost you any CPs. Iron Will of the Guardian, add 1 to save rolls, and then add 1 of the damage characteristics of this general's melee weapon. And then you got your ones for Rune Masters and Rune Smiters. Fire Mantle, subtract 1 for hit rolls or attacks made by this for enemy units while they're within 3 inches of them, so it's all like blazing and you can't see anything, so you're -1 to hit. Wisdom and Authority, at the start of the first battle round, you receive D3 additional command points. That's neat. Although you do have some neat traits actually later on. Oath Sayer, add 1 of the bravery characteristic of friendly Dwarden units that are within 18 of the general. So that's pretty cool. If you do decide you want to bring other Dwarden, you do have like an enhancement basically for non-Fyreslayers. Ashbeard, it sounds like me. This general knows 2 prayers from the Zargon Blessings table instead of 1. That's pretty cool. Your Fire Steel Weaponsmith, improve its run by 1. Master Priest, once per battle at the start of the hero phase, this general is on the battlefield. You can activate 1 Urgold rune that has already been activated. So if you do want to double dip and get the +2 move twice, or the reroll ones to hit twice with the plus damage, that's the one to take, the Master Priest. That one's going to be pretty popular if they're your general. Then Heirlooms of the Lodge for the Rune Fathers and Rune Sons. You got a magnetized rune, so add 2 to the charge rolls for the bear. It's pretty cool. He gets use the enemy's weapons to like pull him into combat. Draft of the Magmalt Ale. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, the bear can drink this potion. If they do so, double the attack characteristic of all their melee weapons until the end of that phase. Then you have, this is Fathers and Sons, Drake Slayer. Once per battle in your shooting phase, instead of making an attack with the bear's Fire Steel throwing axes, you can say they are throwing Drake Slayer. If you do so, pick an enemy monster within 8 inches of the bear and roll a die. On a 6, the monster takes 3d6 mortal wounds. Jeez Louise. I mean, you got to roll a 6 to do it, but that's a lot of mortal wounds if you get it off. Obsidian Glow Helm. At the start of your hero phase, roll a die for if the bear is on the battlefield. On a 4+, you receive initial command point. That's pretty cool. So it's an extra CP on a 4+ every round. Shimmering Blade. At the start of the battle, pick 1 of the bear's melee weapons, improve your weapon's rend by 1. In addition, if an unmodified hit roll for this attack with this weapon is 6, add 1 of the damage characteristic for it. And then Axe of Grimnir, you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by the bear. Remember, this is only Rune Fathers and Rune Sons. Then you have the Artifacts of Wrath and Doom for your Grimwrath Berserkers and Doom Seekers. You have Beast Slayer, there's only 3 of them. Pick 1 of the bear's melee weapons. If the hit roll for an attack made by this target's a monster, and it scores a hit, inflict 2 hits on the target instead of 1. Make a save roll for each hit. Make a wound roll and save roll for each hit. That's cool. He just doubles all his hits against monsters. Then Bracers of Ember, add 1 of the save rolls for attacks target the bear. And Rune of Blazing Fury, once per battle. At the start of the combat phase, you can awaken the Runes of Blazing. If you do so, you can reroll hit and wound rolls for attacks made by this bear until the end of the phase. So he gets like a big fighty moment basically during the game. Then you have your Artifacts of the Forge Temple for your Orc Rune Fathers and Rune Smiters only. You have the Salamander Cloak. Roll a die each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to the bear. On a 5+, it's negated. It's pretty sweet. Ash Cloud Rune. The bear can attempt to unwind 2 spells in the enemy hero phase instead of just like a wizard, sorry. Volatile Brazier. The bear can attempt to summon 2 magmatic invocations in the same turn. Ancestor Helm. If the enemy unit is on the battlefield, it's within 12 inches of the bear, add D3 to the number of models that flee, because he's making you scary. The Ember Stone Rune, add 1 to the invocation rolls made for the bear when he has prayers. And the Droth Helm, you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made by claws and horns of friendly magma droths within 6 inches of the bear. Then you have your Icons of Grimnir for Battlesmiths only. There's 3 of them. The Icon of the Ancestors, the range of the Battlesmith's Icon of Grimnir, and none shall defile the Icon ability, is 18 instead of 12. You have the Icon of Grimnir's Condemnation. The bear can attempt to unbind 1 spell in the enemy hero phase in the same manner as a wizard. In addition, the bear unbinds a spell, roll a die. On a 2+, the caster suffers a mortal wound. So just bounce back and do some damage to a wizard. The Nullsidian Icon. Made up words. Each time a friendly Fyreslayers unit wholly within 12 of the bear is affected by a spell or endless spell, you can roll a die. If you do so on a 4+, you ignore the effects of that spell or endless spell for that unit. That's pretty cool. This is only for Battlesmiths, of course. And then you got your Magma Droth traits. There's 6 of them, because the Magma Droths are kind of the big wheel in here. They're your big hitty piece. Cindercrest Youngblood. So when this model's Lashing Tail ability is used, subtract 1 from the die roll to determine if the target suffers D3 mortal wounds. If this model made a charge move in the same turn, subtract 2 instead, because I think you're trying to roll under the number of models in the unit. The Flamescale Youngblood. After this model has made a charge move, pick one enemy within 1 inch and roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll for that move. For every 6, get a mortal wounds. If you roll a big charge number, a bunch of 6s, do a bunch of mortal wounds. The Fireclaw Adult, once this Magmadroth is roused to fiery anger, its claws ignite in a blaze of flame. If unmodified wound roll for an attack made by this mount's melee weapons is 6, its rend is -3. And then Lava Tongue Adult, when you use this model's Roaring Fire Stream ability, subtract 1 from the die roll that determines if the target suffers mortal wounds. If this model is wholly within your territory or within 6 inches of an objective, subtract 2 instead. That's cool that it gets better near an objective. The Coalheart Ancient, worsen the rend characteristic of this melee weapons, the target model by 1 to a minimum of 0. So he basically reduces rend against him, which is pretty cool. And then the Ashhorn Ancient, you can reroll save rolls of 1 for attacks that target this model and friendly Magmadroths within 6. That one's pretty great, because if you're going to go lots of Magmadroths, keep them together, reroll your ones to save. And then your prayers. So these are all your priests, basically, are going to get these, and there's a trait to get an extra one. Your free piece of terrain feeds into this as well. You get +1 to your prayer rolls. So it's kind of assumed you're doing a lot of prayers because you don't have wizards, and that this is going to be kind of a keystone in your army. So in addition to the ones they know, they can choose one of these as well. Zargon Blessings, Molten Infusion. At the start of your hero phase, one friendly model that knows a prayer can chant it. If they do so, roll a die on a 3+. It's answered. And if this prayer is answered, pick a Magmic Invocation model within 12 inches of this priest. At the end of the battle round, do not roll to see if it's temperamental nature for it. So basically, because they're temperamental, because they're all fiery and stuff, they might do something at the end of the turn. This one just lets you tame it, basically. Searing Heat, at the start of the hero phase, roll a die on a 3+, it's answered. Pick an enemy unit within 18 of the priest, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit until the start of next hero phase, so a blanket -1 to hit within 18. That's pretty great. And again, these aren't spells. You can't stop them, right? Again, just being able to throw it a -1 to hit is huge. And it's on a 2+ if you're nearby to the shrine. The Prayer of Ash, again, it's on a 4+, this one. Pick a friendly unit wholly within 18 inches of the priest. Add 1 of the save rolls for attacks to target that unit until your next hero phase. So I get +1 save, -1 hit to an enemy, and don't make temperamental rolls for your Magmic Invocations. And then you have Ember Storm. This one's on a 3+. Pick a unit, a friendly unit of Volkite Berserkers or Hearth Guard Berserkers wholly within 18 of the priest. They can run and still charge later on, which is cool. There's a trait that lets you do that as well from one of the houses. Prayer of Grimnir's Fury. This one's on a 3+ as well. If this prayer is answered, pick a friendly hero that's not mounted on a Magmadroth and is within 3 inches of an enemy unit, and within 12 inches of this priest, make a pylon move with that hero, and then attack with all the melee weapons in that hero's armed with. So attack with one of your foot heroes, basically, during the hero phase. And then Gilded Claws. This one is on a 3+ as well. If it's answered, pick a friendly Magmadroth unit wholly within 12 of the priest. You can reroll wound rolls for that attack. That model's claw attacks and claws and horns until starting next hero phase. So you can juice up one of the Magmadroths as well. Then you got your Magmic Invocations. So these are the 3 that your priests know. Instead of Fyreslayers priest, instead of doing a prayer, can summon each one to the battlefield. To attempt to do so, you must roll a die for the priest. This is called an invocation roll. Each Magmic Invocation war scroll explains how it's set up, and we'll get to those at the end. Unless under otherwise, a Magmic Invocation cannot be attacked or affected by spells or abilities. It is treated as a friendly model by all armies for any other role purposes. In order to attempt to summon a Magmic Invocation, you must have a model with the Magmic Invocation available that is not already in your army and on the battlefield. So you can only bring 1 of each, basically. If you have 2 Zargon Flamespitter models in your army, and both are on the battlefield, you can't attempt to summon Zargon Flamespitter again until at least one of them has been removed. Okay, so actually, sorry, you could buy them more than once. Interesting. Fyreslayer Priest can attempt to summon more than 1 Magmic Invocation in the same turn, even if they have different models. In addition, if a Fyreslayer's Priest attempts to summon a Magmic Invocation and the invocation roll is not successful, then no other priest can attempt to summon that Magmic Invocation until in that hero phase. Most Magmic Invocations allow you to use an ability if there's a friendly Fyreslayer Priest nearby. Note that if both players' armies have a priest within range, then they can both use this ability when it's their turn to do so, not just the player that performed the invocation. So if Fyreslayers fight Fyreslayers, the invocations both sides get to use the abilities. And then temperamental nature, at the end of each battle round, you must roll for each Magmic Invocation on the battlefield that's set up. Add 1 to the roll if there are any friendly Fyreslayers priests. On a 1 to 3, they go away. So on a 3+, they stay if there's a priest nearby. On a 1 to 3, they're gone. And of course, you can use Molten Infusion to keep them on the battlefield longer. And then in pitched battles, they have a point cost. By paying the Magnetic Invocations point cost, the player can use and reuse 1 Magnetic Invocation model in the appropriate type in the battle. A player cannot take the same Magnetic Invocation more than once in their army, but can still take any number of different Magnetic Invocations. For example, you could not take 2. Okay, so it says you could do 2, but then immediately says in pitched battles that you can't. So, you get 1 of each, basically. But I guess in non-pitched battles, where you're just setting up models as you want, it's giving you the painted model requirement. And then you got your Magmatic Battleforge. Battleforge. Magmic Battleforge, sorry, which is your free piece of terrain that you get every round, or every game. It's a terrain feature and is an obstacle. It has to be set up wholly within 6 inches of a friendly priest, so it has to be near a model, actually. And it's after both armies are set up before the battle begins. So this one, unlike a lot of terrain pieces, doesn't go down first. It goes down after the rest of the army goes. So don't forget to leave spots for it, because it has to be within 6 of a friendly Fyreslayer priest and 1 inch away from other terrain. So don't forget that. If both players can set one up, then you roll off. You get +1, so sorry. At the start of your hero phase, 1 friendly Fyreslayer priest within 6 inches can control its energies, and until the end of that roll, add +1 to the prayer rolls for friendly priests within 18. And then spending the forge once per battle, the start of your hero phase, 1 friendly Fyreslayers priest within 6 inches can spend the forge, and you get to add, you can reroll save rolls of 1 for all Fyreslayers units on the battlefield until the end of the turn. However, for the rest of the battle, you can't control it, basically. So you juice up everybody and they reroll once to save once per battle, but then you lose your pluses to prayers. And now we're into the different, lodges. So Vorstag's the one I talked about in the beginning. It is the charge you on turn 1 if I go second lodge, basically. They get a fearsome surge, add 1 to charge rolls for Vorstag units, period. In addition, in your movement phase in the first battle round, if you declare a friendly Vorstag unit will run, you just auto go 6. This costs you nothing. So you take your rune of +2 to move, you walk 12 basically, and then your command trait is automatically friendly Volstagg units wholly within 12 of this model at the start of your movement phase can run and charge in the same turn. And you're +1 to charge. So the enemy comes towards you, you walk 12, you charge 2d6 +1. And everybody's in there on turn 1. A lot of the new, there's a lot of scenarios too where you start 18 inches away, so it's not hard to get your charges off. And if you're going second, it's very likely you're going to do so. Your command ability is, you can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. If you do so, pick a friendly Vorstag hero. Until the end of that phase, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by the hero and friendly Volkite Berserkers and Hearth Guard Berserkers, wholly within 12. You use this command ability more than once per phase. So you cannot use it more than once per phase. So that guy can also spend a CP, basically, to give everybody +1 to hit. So this is like the Alpha Strike Lodge, basically. Artifact power is the Vos Axe. At the start of the battle, pick 1 of the bearer's melee weapons, improve its run by 1. In addition, if the unmodified roll for an attack made by that weapon is a 6, hit roll, sorry, add 1 to its damage. So +1 to hit, and then 6s unmodified or +1 damage. Alpha Strike the Lodge, basically. You have Greyfeared. Their abilities, you can choose 2 additional Greyfeared heroes to get an artifact. So you unlock 3 artifacts, plus if you're using different War Scroll Battalions, even potentially more. Your command ability is Expert Cohesion. This is the one where all the heroes get to go. You spend a CP, and all the this one was on Warhammer Community, all the non-Magmadroth heroes get to fight after the hero that uses this command ability does. And if they're within 3 inches of him. So like you make a unit of heroes basically and they all just pound and fight all at once in the combat phase. And then your command trait is Battle Scarred Veteran. Add 1 of the attacks characteristic of this general's melee weapons while they're within 5 or more enemy models. Sorry, while there are 5 or more enemy models within 3 of them. So when he's surrounded and outnumbered, he gets +1 attack. Not the best. And then artifact to power, the Helm of Obsidian, add 2 to his wounds characteristic. So this is like the how do I describe this one? The artifact hero pod. This is your 7 samurai one, basically. If you have like a unit of heroes, you dude them up, the leader gets an extra wound, they all fight together and do lots of punching. I don't think it's better than this one. I think everyone's going to play Volstagg for that Alpha Strike shenanigans of 12-inch move, go fight. Then you have Hemdar, or Hermdar. This one's one of the 2 techie ones. Units wholly within enemy territory or wholly within 12 inches of objective don't take battle shock tests. So run across the board and be immune to battle shock. I mean, you got great bravery anyway, but this one's even better. And then Skullbreaker and Oath Taker. I like that name actually a lot. You use this command ability at the start of the combat phase. Pick one friendly Hermdar Volkite Berserker unit or one friendly Hermdar Hearth Guard Berserkers unit wholly within 12 inches of a Hermdar hero. That unit fights at the start of that combat phase before the players pick any other units to fight in the combat phase. You get Alpha Strike for a CP. Your Warrior Indominate command trait, subtract 1 from the wound rolls for attacks that target the general and friendly Helmdar units wholly within 12 inches. That's a really cool tough it out trait. So it's passive, you're just -1 to wound against him and everyone within 12 inches of him. And he has to have this one, but that's bananas. Especially for things that aren't good at wounding, and most shooting attacks actually aren't great at wounding. Artifacts of Power, Tyrant Slayer. Pick one of the bear's melee weapons. You can reroll wound rolls for attacks made by that weapon that target enemy heroes. In addition, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with this weapon that targets an enemy hero is a 6, it does 1 mortal wound in addition to its normal damage. So these are like the tough dudes. You got the tough dudes, you got the band of heroes, and you got the alpha strikers. And then you got Lofnir here. These are the Magmadroth faction, basically. Each Magmadroth in a Lofnir army, instead of only 1, can be given a trait. So you can have as many as you have Magmadroths, basically have those traits. So you're always getting the reroll ones to save 1, and then whatever else you want, basically, to make them awesome. More of the aura ones. You have Torrent of Magma. You can use command ability in your shooting phase. If you do so, pick an enemy unit wholly within 12 of a friendly Lofnir priest. Until the end of that phase, add 1 to hit and wound rolls for attacks made with magma pikes by friendly units that target that enemy, and the same unit cannot be picked to be affected by this more than once. So +1 to wound for a CP, that's pretty great. To hit and wound rolls with your whatchamacallits. And who is it that carries magma pikes? I think it's the Volkite Hearth Guard carrying magma pikes. Let's have a look here. Nope, pole axes, magma pikes. It's the Orc Hearth Guard. There you go. So you're 2 wound, 5+ save, bravery 7. They go to hitting on 2s and 2s now, with no run and 1 damage. But that's pretty great. And then what's the ability for the magma pike? It's Swarm Protectors, roll die each time. Oh, yeah, that's right. The Magmadroths can take wounds for Magmadroths. On a 4+, you must choose a friendly with this ability within 3 to suffer that wound. Yeah, so they soak wounds for people. So you basically have a little halo of these guys that soak up all the wounds. And can hit on 2s, basically, which is bananas. So it's be 2s rerolling once on the turn that you use that crazy, that special ability. And then Explosive Charge, at the add 1 to charge rolls for friendly Lofnir Magmadroths within 12 of the general. So when you're taking your posse of Magmadroths, roll +1 to charge as well. And Artifact of Power, the Igneous Battle Throne. Roll a die each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to him on a 6+, it's ignored. So it's a 6+ shrug for your Magmadroth, for your general, basically. Or someone in it. And again, you have to take those 2, you don't have a choice. And we got some sweet scenarios, some Path to Glory, and we skip over to War Scroll Battalions. Now there's only 3, and then of course the daddy one, which is the one that like combines all the baby ones together. So the Grand Feared, you always proc your enhanced abilities for your Orc runes on a 5 or 6 if you're using this. It has to contain 1 Lords of the Lodge, 2 Warrior Kindreds, 1 Forge Brethren, and then you have to take you can take 0 to 1 Doomseekers and 0 to 1 Grimwrath Berserkers that will add into it. Lords of the Lodge, it's your character one, so you have to have a Rune Father, a Rune Master, a Battlesmith, and 1 unit of Hearthguard Berserkers as their bodyguard. And they gain Oathbound Guardians. If a unit of Hearthguard Berserkers from this battalion is wholly within 12 inches of a hero of the same battalion at the start of the combat phase, then after that unit is fought in the combat phase, they can fight again. So they can fight twice, basically, when they're nearby. So these guys freak out and get better. It's pretty cool. Warrior Kin, and you're going to want to take these guys anyway, so it depends on how much this costs, if that's worth it or not, for something fighting twice. You got your Warrior Kin Band. It is a Rune Sun and 3 units of Volkite Berserkers. So there's basically your battle line. So again, you'll take this one almost automatically, as long as the point cost is reasonable. You get Berserk Kindred. You can use the Berserk Fury ability from 1 Volkite Berserkers unit from this battalion twice in the same battle, if that unit is wholly within 12 inches of the Orc Rune Sun from this same battalion when it's being used. So double down on your Berserk Fury once per battle. No, each one can do it twice, actually, then. And then your Forge Brethren, a Rune Smiter, and 3 units of Orc Hearth Guard. So again, all these are different units, so you might end up using all of them. You'd have to use all of them to unlock this, but that's going to be a big game. You get the Bulwark of Molten Stone. At the start of the enemy hero phase, you can pick 1 friendly unit wholly within 18 inches of the units of Orc Hearth Guard from this battalion. If you do so, add 1 to the save rolls for attacks that target that unit until the start of the next hero phase. At the start of the enemy hero phase, you pick 1 unit of friendly unit. Okay, there you go. So they protect somebody else, basically. If you do so, add 1 to the save rolls for them. So yeah, they basically give out +1 save. That's neat. And then we got our units. So again, I'm not going to go through these too much. You have your 3 Magmadroths. So you have your Rune Father and Rune Sons, so the big and little basically versions of these, riding a younger or older Magmadroth, although they have the same wound characteristic and save, so it's not a huge deal. It's mostly their point cost. Different command abilities and stuff. Again, I'm not going to go through these individually. You have your Rune Smiter, who's the big priest on back of it. You have Field Grimnir and the Chosen Axes from Shadespire. The Orc Rune Father, Orc Rune Son, Battlesmith, and Rune Master. The Grimwrath Berserkers. Now the biggest change here, which again community went through when we get to the end here, is that you got extra wounds on all your Dwarden, which I think is just smart. You get your Doom Seeker, and then your Orc Rune Smiter. And this is where the big one came in, is your Volcade Berserkers are all 2 wounds, which is awesome. So this was something that happened with Orcs, basically, when AOS started. And actually also with Chaos Warriors. If you were toughness 4 with a fairly okay armor save in Warhammer Fantasy Battle, you just got 2 wounds in AOS. And it just didn't happen for the Dwarves. The Dwarden didn't get it, and the Fyreslayers didn't get it. So I think that's just, I hope they do that with all the Dwarden, that everybody just gets 2 wounds. Because it's a good, wound count is such a big deal in AOS, and it's really what your battlefield presence is. I hope that this happens to all Dwarden, and they just become just like Orcs and all have 2 wounds now. Because that would make them a lot tougher, and it's a really simple fix. So again, this is all in the AOS app, I'm not going to go through it. Let's talk about some endless invocations. Some not spells. So you got your Zargon Flame Spitter. If you summon it at the start of your hero phase, 1 friendly Fyreslayer Priest can attempt to perform it. On a 3+, it shows up, wholly within 6 of them. And you get a Magma Blast. At the start of your shooting phase, if there is a friendly Fyreslayer's Priest within 6 of this model, and again, both sides could do it if you use 2 Fyreslayers playing each other, you can pick an enemy unit within 24 inches of the model and roll 12 dice. Add 1 to the roll if there's 10 or more models, and add 2 if it's 20 or more models. On a 6+, they take a mortal wound. So 12 4+ mortal wounds against goblins. Take that, goblins. We just shit magma all over you, basically. And then there's your Runic Firewall. This is like the Palisade. Summon Runic Firewall. At the start of your hero phase, 1 friendly Fyreslayer Priest can attempt to perform this magnetic invocation. If they do so, on a 3+, set it with an 18. Roaring Rune Fire. A model cannot see another model if an imaginary line goes within 1. So it's a big blocking wall line of sight thing. And then Awaken Runes. Reroll save rolls of 1 for attacks that target Fyreslayer units wholly within 12 inches of this model. And Impervious to Heat. Magmadroths can pass across this model in the same manner as a model can fly. So this is the one you bring with this guy, with Priest on Magmadroth, and you just drop it in front of him every round. And no one can see him. Or you do like a conga line of Magmadroths and just keep summoning that thing in front of him so nobody can shoot him. And he's allowed to charge through it, because he's made out of magma too. Because this guy's also a priest, isn't he? Orc Rune Son. Not the Rune Son, sorry, I flipped to the wrong page. And it's this guy, the Rune Smiter, because he's a priest. Yep, there you go. So he brings it in and blocks line of sight to himself. Yeah! And then you get your Molten Infernoth, which is the big murder beast. This one's on a 3+ to summon, wholly within 12 inches of that priest. And then Burning Tide. When the magnification is set up, the player who set it up can immediately make a move with it. In addition, sort of each of the subsequent hero phases, the player who set this magic invocation up can make a move with it if it's still in the battlefield. When you move it, it goes 2d6 and flies. Erupting Inferno. After this model has moved, roll 12 dice for each unit that's within 3 inches of it at the end of the move. On a 6, take a mortal wound, and Fyreslayers are unaffected. And then Fiery Wrath of Valkatrix. Add 1 to Bravery characteristic for Fyreslayers with an 18. So that's pretty cool. That thing gets some work done. It gets some fighting done. It's not quite as good at hitting big units, but the bravery boost is pretty sweet. If you're not taking a lodge, it makes you immune to bravery. And then we got our pitched battle profiles. So Volkite Berserkers, 10 to 30, 160, no discount, their battle line. Your Rune Father, 100 points, he's a leader. Rune Master, 120 points, he's a leader. Rune Smiter, 120 points, he's a leader. Auric Rune Sun, 100 points, leader. Battlesmith, 140 points, leader. Fuel Grimnir, who has to be taken with the Chosen Axes, 200 points for all of them, and they're unique. These units must be taken as a set of 200 points, although taken up they're set up as a separate unit. Your Rune Father on Magmadroth is 280. Man, they're pretty cheap for a 14-point monster. It's Leader Behemoth. Rune Smiter, 260 for Leader Behemoth, and Magmadroth Rune Sun is 240 for Leader Behemoth. Oof, not that expensive. The most expensive thing I think now is the Berserkers, but they doubled in wounds. So 160 is, I mean, per wound basically. Doomseeker is 100 for, he's not a leader, he's just an other unit, and so is the Grimwrath Berserker. So they're not heroes. Well, they might be heroes actually, but they're not leaders, sorry. So they can't lead your army because they're just too busy getting ready to die. And you get your Hearth Guard Berserkers, which are 5 to 30, 120 for 5. You take a max unit for 600 points. And their battle line, if your general is an Auric Rune Father. So you'd have to have the Auric Rune Father be your general. And then Forge Brethren, which is the big one, is 160. The Grand Feared, the Grand Feared is the big one. It's 60. It's actually cheaper. The Forge Brethren is 160. The Lords of the Lodge is 140. The Warrior Kinband is 140. And then your Endless Things are 60 for the Zargon Flame Spitter. Spitter, not Spitter. 40 for the Firewall. Oh my god, the Firewall's cheap. And then 50 for the Molten Infernoth. And your Battleforge is free. Your allies are Dispossessed, Ironweld Arsenal, Karadan Overlords, and Stormcast Eternals, because everybody gets to hang out with Storm Bros. And that's it. Quick and dirty. Man, that's it's not a big Battletome. The lodges out a bit. I like the fact that you've basically got like a theme from the lodges. You got the Alpha Strike Lodge, the Defendo Harder to Kill Lodge, the Magmadroth Lodge, and then the Seven Samurai, the Kinband of Heroes Lodge. It does a lot with a little. The endless prayer thingies are nice. It's 3 new units basically, and then you got your cool terrain piece too. But that does really push you into the prayers because you don't have wizards. So yeah, the once per game reroll saves. I would have just made that all the time. It doesn't seem, because you're depending on prayers a bit. It doesn't seem the greatest. That's all it really does. Give me +1 for prayers. Yeah, the doubling wounds is nice though. 160 points for 10 Hearthguard Berserkers at 20 wounds, 5-up save. There's lots of ways to give out +1 save actually in that list. It's neat. I think it's going to be, you're either going to see an all Magmadroth force, lots of Magmadroths, or you're going to see a all Berserker force with like just lots of Berserkers building into that Alpha Strike. Because you could put a lot of Berserkers into combat really fast, bottom of 2, and hope for a double round. And then do a whole bunch of murdering. You're going to be pretty quick, and you're still getting to move fast and get +1 to charge all the time. That's just passive within range of your general. So we'll see. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that review. We'll see if more GMG reviews in the future. I got more coming up. Next on MASH. Have a good one. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below so you get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Deathbit Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.